Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Wow, today we are 1 week into JoyTangle, which is the Christmas themed Zentangle challenge that I'm doing over here on my YouTube channel. And if you've been following along, then you know that I have created a list of 25 prompts, one prompt for each of the days of the challenge. So it's a 25-day challenge. And today we are on day 7. And as per this list, we have Me 3 as the prompt for today, which is a beautiful tangle created by Cindy Pope. Now, this tangle can seem a little bit overwhelming at first, which is why I decided to record two different variations of how you can draw this. So let's get right into it. Now, in the first method, what I usually do is imagine a center point on my paper and I start to create these tiny sections which will basically be the base or the foundation for the extensions that we're going to draw. So all you have to do is imagine a center and then go round and round, adding these little curvy strokes so that they become like an outline to a circle. And then once you have those in place, then we basically just go back and start to add these other curvy lines, which are sort of creating like a triangular formation. But you'll notice in a minute that they will basically then transform into the foundation for the next set of curvy lines. And it does help in the overall look and symmetry of things if it's almost equidistant. But in this case, you can see that at a couple of places, I have gone slightly fatter on those extensions that I've drawn. But that's okay. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules over here. It just helps to be equidistant, but it's not really mandatory. At the end of the day, this is handmade, so you're bound to have some human imperfections here and there. And I'm totally cool with that. And so should you be, because there are no mistakes in Zentangle. So yeah, as you can see, once we've got those extensions in place, we just go back and add these little circular tops, more like oval tops over here rather, which are basically just going to close those gaps, and they're going to be adding like sort of like a mushroom top on top of the stem. And then we basically just color the section in. And that is basically one way of creating Me 3. So once you have one of these sections completed, you can then use any two of those extensions and treat them as the periphery of another circle and then start to build a new circle around that. So you start to add additional strokes and then start to create additional fragments. And then same way, you can just continue building one after the other, just taking two of those C strokes as extensions to a new circle and then just building it from there. So it's almost like interconnected wheels, or like, those kind of discs that you see in clockwork, or like big machines have these interconnected circles. I'm not really sure what the word for that is, but you see these pegs and little bolts and nuts which are sort of connected to each other in machines. So yeah, it gives that kind of a vibe. Okay, so that was method number 1 of drawing it. Now there is another technique that you can use to draw it, so I'm quickly going to demonstrate that as well. And in this case, what I usually do is that I start off by creating one of the original sections or the original fragments. And this one is basically the same technique up until this point where we create the extensions. But then once my extensions are done, I start to first add more circular boundaries. And I don't get into the details of adding the mushroom tops right away. I just basically start to first create lots and lots of circles so that all that's left for me to do in the end is add the extensions. And so when I've taught this tangle in my live classes, I've noticed that some of the students find this method to be more comfortable when it comes to imagining the placement of the tangle, whereas other students find the previous method more useful. So it really depends on how you visualize shapes and how you're comfortable drawing your composition. There are no hard and fast rules over here. At the end of the day, the results are still going to be the same. It's just the way you imagine the deconstruction of the pattern in your mind. And yeah, like I said, the output's going to be the same in either case. So over here, now that I've done all my circle placements, I'm just going back in and adding the extensions and then adding those mushroom tops. If you want me to demonstrate more examples of how you can embellish Me3 or how you can, work with the placements, then do put a comment for me in the comments box below and let me know what all videos you would like me to make around this particular tangle, or even if there are any other suggestions or ideas that you have. I love to go through your comments and I'd love to create videos that are helpful for all of you. So yeah, your wish is my command. So if you want me to create more tutorials around this, just let me know. Okay, so at this point, I was fairly happy with the placement of the Me3 on my composition, and I decided to leave it like an abstract blob in the middle of the composition going diagonal because I wanted to use the negative space for adding more aura lines and to possibly add more tangles. So I just decided to switch to my red pen and kind of created a separate section altogether by going around the original lines or the original shapes. So it's pretty much like adding an aura around those shapes. And over here, I'm purposely going slightly thick with my pen because I want to create a nice big chunk of red ink. And I want to add in a pop of color over here. So with that done, I came back to the inside section of Me3 and switched to my other green pen to create the embellishments. And this is very similar to the embellishments that I did for day 3 with my tangle Scena on the day 3 project, as well as the way I did it for the day 6 project with angelfish. So I'm trying to create a similar visual language in all my pieces so that at the end of 25 days, all my pieces can look cohesive and as part of one single series. So over here, I'm basically just kind of filling this up with Scena again and using the peppering effect. And it almost looks like peppermint candy or like Christmas candies at this point. And with that done, I switched to my red pen and added in some aura lines into those extensions or like those curvy triangles that we had coming out of the circle in the middle. Then it was time to move on to my gold pen, and I colored the inside sections with gold, and I also created some inner aura sections inside those circular areas. And of course, there are no hard and fast rules over here. You can choose to do this in so many different ways, but I decided to just go a little heavy on gold because I wanted to create a nice, festive, joyful piece. And I love to add this particular gold pen on my pieces. This is the Uniball Signo gold pen, and I absolutely love the way it shines, and it creates this beautiful combination with the Sakura green and red. So I'm going really heavy on my use of gold over here, but you totally don't have to follow me when it comes to this because this is not really part of the tangle. This is actually just decorative motifs or embellishments that I'm doing on the top. So yeah, you can totally use some other filler tangles or other ways of embellishing this. Okay, so after I added all that golden delight, I moved on to adding some more aura lines. And once again, I decided to alternate between my green, my gold, and my red pens. And I decided to create a variation between thick and thin lines to just add in some variety. So at this point, I realized that the central or the focal element of the composition was already looking pretty nice and satisfying, and it was grabbing pretty much, a good amount of eyeballs, so to say. So I didn't want to stuff it up with more tangles because otherwise the composition would have looked very congested. And I just wanted to not make it, suffocate so much. So just adding in simple lines to aura out those shapes, and then just adding simple embellishments with dots and lines and little outlines, so to say. And over here, I'm also using a little bit of my white jelly roll pen to add in some small outlines and some small details. And then just basically going back and forth between the gold and the white pens to add in little dots and little lines, etc. I realized that there was this nice big empty white patch between the Me 3 and where I started to create the order lines. So I just filled that up with gold dots or gold orbs. And because I wanted to add in some white inside the Me 3 section, I decided to just add in some outlines around those golden chunks that I had created. And I love the fact that this white jelly roll pen actually stands out really well against the red ink. So you can actually see those outlines very nicely. And finally, because I wanted the inside dots to kind of match with the rest of the design, I just added in some tiny beads on these existent aura lines. I think there is another tangle. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's called bead lines or something similar to that name, which pretty much looks like this. But in this case, I'm just, going with my intuition and just adding in the little dots over here. A lot of this is just intuitive art making. It's more to do with what your inner voice says rather than following a set of rules or a set of guidelines. So I just felt like this piece needed a few more dots to match with the inside dots. So I just decided to add the lines over here. And that's how we have them. It's as simple as that. All right, and it's time to peel off the washi tape and reveal our beautiful design. This washi tape was a little bit of a pain to work with. The piece did get a little bit torn in one small section, but that's okay. I just fixed that quickly. And yeah, that's the finished piece. And we have officially finished 1 week of this beautiful Zentangle challenge. And if you want to see how I'm progressing with my challenge and if you want to follow along for the rest of the tutorials that I'm posting, then make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be coming back with the rest of the videos very, very soon. Till then, keep creating, stay creative, and take care. Bye.